All right, so that's kind of the background behind those that are eligible. And we're going to talk a little bit about the technical parts of that and how things need to be processed as we go along. And again, I know there may be some questions, so go ahead and type those questions in as we go. What you're seeing on your screen right now are some of the dates that will be affected with HRE. HRE will be shutting down for the fiscal year end processing, which really is, processing that 1% increase on Friday, June 21st, 2013. And it will be coming back up on Monday, June 24th, 2013. So it will run over the weekend, and for our IT staff to be able to process those increases. So what that means is that we are going to need to do a couple of things in HRE before it actually shuts down on the 21st. So any actions that are effective June 22nd, 2013 or earlier must be entered and approved in HRE prior to that June 21st shutdown date. This is important when that 1% increase processes, that the stream of actions is correct and that we don't process an increase based upon the data that we haven't received yet, or the actions that we haven't received yet. And so we need to have all of those EPARs, the actions through HRE before 11 a.m. on June 21st. If you've entered an EPAR, then you should be fine. You just need to get those EPARs entered. Any EPARs with effective dates for June 23rd and later will need to be re-entered when the system comes back on June 24th. The one-time bonus will be automated by the Division of Finance, and again, we'll need to know. That's why it's important that we get HRE actions in before the system shuts down, so that we know which employees will actually get that one-time bonus. If there's somebody that is going to be put, above the max in a reassignment, or somebody that is placed at the max, those employees would get a bonus instead of the 1% increase. So there was a few changes this year and that you need to be aware of. A lot of things that we've done in the past with this 1% increase hasn't required a lot of effort from the field, I think, unless you're just making sure that you get all your actions in on time. But the change this year is that non-benefited IN and TLs, certain non-benefited IN and TLs, did receive the 1% funding for that increase. This is partially the reason that it took us so long to get this information out. We didn't know exactly how we were going to handle non-benefited INs and TLs. So the governor's office this year instructed us some non-benefited IN and TLs will get that increase. So what we need from field is help in identifying who will be included. And so this is what will need to happen. We will be creating a report, and it will be sent out to the field offices. It'll have fields for you to fill in that tell us which non-benefited INs and TLs by agency and org that should be included in getting the increase. And we'd like this report to be sent back to us by May 31st, 2013, so that we can process them in the automatic process that takes place for fiscal year end. If an agency wants to separate their INs and TLs that within the org, we will have to work on processing those manually. And we're hoping that there's not going to be a lot. Now I need to clarify this because I think some people may be confused. we're only talking about non-benefited INs and TLs. The benefited INs and TLs are going to get the increase automatically. You don't need to worry about them. But if you have non-benefited INs and TLs, we just need your help in identifying those that need to be given a 1% increase. We realize that there will be some special cases to this agency org criteria, but please talk to DHRM admin, talk to us about that before May 10th so that we can kind of design a plan on how we're going to handle those. We're not going to be double checking the funding. If you send a report that says, hey, this individual needs an increase, a non-benefited IN and TL, that employee will be processed. Having said that, if the agency thinks that they didn't get the funding for the 1%, but they have the budget to process an increase and they want to give INs or TLs increases that are non-benefited, but it may not be the 1% general increase funding, it was out of agency budgets, then we're not going to kind of split hairs on that. We'll process them for you. So we're not going to get too technical on how that's going to happen. Just a little bit about the order of processing that is going to happen. All assignment and salary actions that are effective June 22nd, 2013, which is the date that the increase will go into place, they will be processed first. So they will be the first in the series of actions that needs to take place. And the general increase will be the last action. And so all of the other things that are going on that need to happen in the agency, those will increase first before the general increase is processed. If there are any assignment and salary actions that are processed late after the date of June 22nd, we will have to recalculate the general increase for that, which is why we really want to get everybody's information in before HRE shuts down so that we don't have to do a lot of replacement actions and recalculations. I realize that we won't be perfect on this and that we're going to have to do some work, but we would like to avoid as much as we can just by being proactive on getting things in. If you do have a need to process something after the June 22nd date, we'll work with you on that. But contact DHRM admin just to make sure that the 1% is calculated the same way that everybody else has calculated that. A little bit about longevity increases. I think there's some confusion. We know that eventually longevity increases are going to be going back to the field. At least that was my understanding. But this year, Eric will be entering the longevity increases again. It'll probably be the last time. The change will happen after fiscal year end occurs, where the field will be doing those. The contact for that is Marianne Scow. She's going to be serving as the lead for processing those. So contact her if you have any questions or things that Eric needs to be aware of in terms of that. I talked to Marianne yesterday, and she indicated that she has already pulled reports of employees that will need to be given that increase on June 22nd, and she's identifying those that don't have a plan and will be, a performance plan, and will be working with the field offices to make sure that they get those plans in so that that increase can be processed in time. And again, the longevity increases are the same. They will need to be entered and approved before HRE shuts down because they will take place before that general increase takes place. A little bit about the one-time bonus. Bonuses will be received on the employee's paycheck on July 19th, 2013. This is the first paycheck date for FY 2014. and it represents 9 calendar days in FY 2013 and 5 calendar days in FY 2014. I wanted to do a little bit of, just because we had everybody online, and we talked a little bit about how the process for longevity increases and processing those is going back to the field. I wanted to just do a really kind of a quick little training about how longevity increases work from the policy standpoint. I know that there has been some confusion in the past. I think there's been some frustration because Eric may be doing things differently than what the field was used to. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the policy. Longevities fall into, in my eyes, I guess, 2 criteria in terms of when they're processed. And that criteria is when an employee is at the max of the range, or when an employee is above the max of the range. The first one I wanted to talk about is when an employee is at the max of the range. They have to meet the following criteria. First of all, they have to be at the max of the range. They have to have 8 years of service. They have to have been at the max for 1 year. They have to be at the max for 1 year. And they have to have a successful performance rating for the 12 months preceding that increase. An employee in longevity will then, after they've been put above that max, will be eligible for another increase after 3 years. So that's what I'd like to just quickly talk about. And this is, I think, where most of the confusion comes in. In rules this year, we realize that there are some things that we need to work out in rule and in other places, but this is the practice, as I kind of explain it, for when an employee is above the max. The criteria is similar to when somebody is at the max, but they have to have been above the max for 3 years, in state service for 8 years, and have a successful performance appraisal within the 12-month period preceding the longevity increase. I think the confusion comes in is, does the employee have to actually go to the max and then go get above the max before they can be eligible for getting an increase after 3 years? And the way that it works is that any employee that's above the max, as long as they meet the criteria, will get an increase after 3 years. So that could happen in a couple of different ways. An employee can be reassigned and be above the max. They could be reclassified. That happens when individuals are reclassified or reassigned to a lower level position, or when an agency transfers an employee. In that case, the agency has the discretion to lower pay, but they don't have to, and so an employee could end up above the max and never have been at the max for the year marked. But anytime they're above the max, then they have to wait 3 years before they get that increase, and they have to meet the criteria. So an employee that just happens to have been reassigned to a lower level position, is above the max, hasn't been in state service for 8 years, is just going to be stuck there, basically. I mean, there are some things that would cause the employee to have an increase in pay. Also, employees that, this is just a general update, but employees that are AB, IN, or TL are not eligible for the longevity program. And so that, I think, has caused some confusion where agencies have put INs and TLs above the max because of longevity. They're actually not eligible for that, and that is in statute. Just a little bit about accuracy as we kind of close this webinar off, just to talk about some of the things that could cause issues for us if we're not accurate in processing these the increases that need to take place, or the actions that need to take place before HRE shuts down. if we don't get all of the, we talked about this before, but if we don't get all of the assignment and salary actions entered, it may affect what the one-time bonus is. We might have either not given somebody a bonus or given them a bonus that we shouldn't have. And we will need to correct those errors. Those errors will need to be corrected before December 13th, 2013. And this is for the W-2 purposes. If we don't correct those, and I know that seems like a long time to correct it, but we just need to be diligent in making sure that we've entered things accurately. All right, finally, the Employee Gateway is going to have a couple of things to help you with all of this. We're going to have the comp bulletin out very soon, now that we have all the information. That will be located on the Employee Gateway, as well as a FAQ document on how the one-time bonus will work. We're also we're recording this webinar, and so it will be used, it will be located on the Gateway, but also there's an area now that we're housing all these webinars, so we will be sending you that information as well, so that you can look back on all this fun stuff.